and welcome to Unapologetically Black Unicorns. This week, my guest is, well, I kind of don't have a guest, but I kind of do. So, my guest is a picture from my photo album and a tarot card. Those are my guests. I'm kind of taking a break. It's August and, it's summertime, so it's hot. It's really, really hot. So, time to take a little bit of a break. But as I was taking a break, I was thinking about a couple of things. And I think you've heard me talk before on the podcast with a few other live human guests about my interest in tarot cards. And I'm not going to talk about the metaphysical and the meaning of tarot in that way. But the reason that I have interest in tarot and oracle cards really is for the artwork. So many artists and writers take years actually to create these cards with beautiful images that represent the meaning of the card. So you can sometimes look at the picture and gather the meaning, or there might be symbols on the cards, things like that. And I just find it really, really fascinating. The other cool thing about the cards is that they tell a story. And they tell a story like from beginning to end as you go from what's called the major arcana to the minor arcana. And it's really interesting to follow the characters along in this story on each of the cards and to see how different artists depict that. So that's kind of what I'm into, mainly for the art. and yeah, sometimes for the messages. Sometimes you need a nice affirmation. So when I started collecting these cards, I've been doing it for years, but never really talked about it. I started looking at one card in particular, and I couldn't understand why this card across the different decks that I have really resonated with me. And it's the hardest card in the deck, meaning it's kind of the darkest card. Maybe some people say the most violent card. And no, it's not the death card. It's not that one, even though that one can be kind of tough, but kind of cool too. It's actually the Tower card. So when you look at this card, usually it has a picture of a building or a tower that's being struck by lightning and it's split at the top and flames are coming out of it and people are, falling out of the building. It's really dramatic. And one of the cards I was looking at, I was like really shocked because it's a card deck I would say is mainly for younger folks, maybe for teenagers and the like. And one of the people that had fallen out of the building was pierced by the rocks below. And I was like, okay, wait, that's super graphic. But it's just really interesting again to look at how different artists are depicting this particular card. And why did this card why is this card resonating with me? Like, of all the things that are in the deck, like there's the Lover's card and there's the Strength card, things like that, which are, quite positive. There's the Fool card, which is really kind of about, going on that journey with abandon. That's actually the first card. And stepping into the unknown is kind of that first card. There's a Magician card, which is really cool. You have all of these different things to manifest what you want to manifest. Okay, so I'm getting into the tarot deck. I really don't want to do that, but why that Tower card? As I looked at one of the pictures, I was telling my friend the other day as I received a new deck from some friends of mine, a Hello Kitty deck. Isn't that cute? I was not looking at the Hello Kitty deck at the time, and I was showing my friend the Tower card, and I said, this really looks familiar. What does this look like? And that's when I looked back into all of the photos in my phone because I knew what it looked like. It actually looked like a building here in Los Angeles County that is actually our old general hospital. And how do I know about this building? And by the way, if you watch the soap opera General Hospital, and I think at the beginning of the soap opera and the end of the soap opera, the camera pans up on this very old Art Deco building. That is LA County General Hospital. Well, I came to know that building because that's where I had my first psychiatric inpatient involuntary hospitalization. And it almost is like the Tower card. When I think of that building and I think of the meaning of the tarot card, I am like, oh, wow, those two things kind of go together. So the Tower card, even though it looks like it represents, massive destruction and people dying and fire and all of that, it does represent a destruction of some sort. It can be an internal destruction, it can be a destruction of a system, and it also has this other side. So that's the like maybe shadow side. And then it has this other light side, which is about what gets rebuilt, what needs to be rebuilt, what do you need to give up in order to move forward. And I think that first hospitalization in that building, that's my tower. That's the thing that kind of, well, it broke me. It literally broke me. And it was a horrible experience. I don't want to go into the experience of what it was like to be psychiatrically hospitalized involuntarily. I've spoken about it before. You could probably Google and maybe find me speaking about what happened at that time. But it broke me for a couple of different reasons. It was a time when I didn't understand what was happening with me. I wasn't clear about exactly everything that was going on. I was in a lot of despair. I was in a lot of pain. And the idea that one goes to a hospital to feel better, I guess, is the point. But when you go involuntarily, sometimes that's not what it feels like. That's not what the point feels like. It doesn't feel like you're going there to get better. And when we came up to that building, I was in the back of a police car. Actually, I don't even think I was in an ambulance. I think I was in the back of a police car, and they kept telling me they were taking me to county. I mean, what is that? Like, I had no idea what that was. And I don't believe we came up on the front of the building, so I never really knew exactly what building I was in. But I remember when we got out of the car, they put me in a wheelchair and handcuffed me to the wheelchair. By the way, I wasn't even violent. This is just one of the rules that happens when you are taken to the hospital involuntarily. You're not transported in an ambulance generally. Generally, you're transported by the police, but there's some changes on that, by the way. So you're transported by the police, and they have to keep you in handcuffs. Back in the day, before there was training about how to better support people with mental health conditions that need medical care. So as we're going in the hospital, I remember looking down at the floor and seeing all of these lines on the floor. There was a red line, a green line, a blue line, I believe a yellow line. And I didn't know why these lines were on the floor, but we were following these lines until we got to the psych unit. So I'm not going to say much more about that other than, it's really interesting to me that I had that experience, that I look at the tower card that represents sort of this moment of destruction, this moment of something having to give, and looking at a picture in my phone that I took of the General Hospital years later. Why was I at the General Hospital years later? Well, it's no longer a General Hospital. Actually, there was a huge earthquake here, and the earthquake really rocked the foundation of that building. There's asbestos, things like that. So there are things in that building where eventually there was a bill passed to close that building because it was too costly to refurbish. It's a huge behemoth of a building, and a new building was built adjacent to it. A new general hospital, beautiful new kind of lower building, more modern building was built next to it. And I was actually at the general hospital because there's a portion of that building that is now a wellness center. And I was there in my role working for the county, helping them figure out how to integrate all of the components. And there were organizations that lease space in the building. And how are we going to maximize maybe how peer support specialists were utilized, how promotoras or community health workers who were engaged with the county in employed positions, how are we going to maximize the use of these paraprofessionals or allied health professions along with what was happening in this county building of the wellness center? And as I was walking in the building, it never dawned on me that I had been in that building before as a patient. Never dawned on me until we were walking down the hall and I looked at the floor and there were the lines, the red line, the blue line, the green line, the yellow line. And I'm looking down and I'm having a serious deja vu moment, maybe a little PTSD at the same time. And I asked, why are these lines on the ground? And the staff person said, well, look up. If you look up, you can actually see that the lines tell you which unit to go to. And the red line was the psych unit. I had been in that building, I had been in that psych ward, I had been rolled down that hall as we followed that red line. That's the power of the tower card. After destruction comes a time for rebuilding. And it's kind of like the skies, well, okay, the skies don't open and it doesn't have to always have a lovely moment, but it is sort of this, sometimes things need to kind of fall away or to go away in order for new things to come forth. It didn't happen right away. I had several other hospitalizations afterwards. All of them have been involuntary. But the fact that I could come back to that building in an employed position, working for the county, to help them figure out how to better serve people with mental health conditions of all ages within a wellness center was that my tower moment. It was like the power of the tower. That tower, like, destroyed me. Really, it destroyed me. But then I was able to rebuild over time the life that I wanted. And I didn't do it alone. I did it with a lot of people and a lot of help. So I don't know. What is your tower? It doesn't have to be a physical building. It can be, maybe people who have to fall away or ideals that have to fall away. And I think, we still have a tower moment for mental health. 988 is giving us 988, by the way, is the new, it's not new, it's the suicide prevention lifeline number that rather than remembering a long 10-digit number, it is an easy to remember 3-digit number. If you need mental health help or you're in suicidal crisis, you can call the 988 number. And that's us starting to look at tearing down something that is old and building upon it to build something new. And what else do we need to do in mental health? What is our tower moment? Because sometimes you can think of the tower as something that you need to address versus it falling apart first and then addressing it. So I don't know, was thinking about that, was looking at the picture of this big, beautiful Art Deco building. Art Deco is my favorite art style. And looking at this tower card brought all of these thoughts to mind. And sometimes I have to sit back and look at where I've been to see where I am and also to see where I'm going. So thanks for listening to me babble a little bit today. I hope that was a little bit of wisdom dropping. And I hope you can think about what is your tower moment and, what will be your star moment. Actually, that's the card after the tower, which is like dreams come true and the sky is opened and kind of what can I build for myself? So what are those moments for you? I hope you get to think about that this week and have a great week so that you can be you. And thanks for joining me on Unapologetically Black Unicorns. See you next week.